What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Andre Chapman Jr., also known as Dre Made It Happen, and welcome to Chatting with Chapman. Today, I have the pleasure of chatting with the 2015 Gatorade Player of the Year, which happened to be the first male sprinter to win the honor as a non-senior. He was fifth at the 2016 Olympic trials as only a high schooler, 2016 junior outdoor champion in the 200 and the 4x1, 2018 NCAA indoor track and field champion in the 400, setting the American indoor record. Also, same meet, 2018 NCAA indoor track and field champion in the 4x4, setting the world's fastest time in the 4x4 ever to date. 2018 NCAA outdoor track and field champion in the 400, and he's still the collegiate record holder in the 400 meters.
Yeah.
2018 Bowerman Award winner. For those of you that don't know track, it's similar to the Heisman. It's the highest track and field accolade given each year to the best student athlete. He's a 2020 USA national champion in the 400 meters, 2020 Tokyo Olympic finalist in the 400 meters, and gold medalist in the 4x4, 2022 USA national champion in the 400, 2022 world champion in the 400 and the 4x4, and a 2024 Paris Olympic finalist. How you doing, Michael?
Man, what an introduction. Everything's going pretty well. I mean, just living my best life right now.
Yeah. Happy to have you here with us.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. So just a little bit of background. I know I shared it with you, but I share this on every podcast, just explaining the reason why I started this platform, which was to create a space for high schoolers to learn directly from professional and collegiate athletes who've been in their shoes. The goal is to demystify the mental challenges that you all face and show that even the most successful people have had to work on their mental game, and it's a continuous process. And my goal is for them to be able to turn back into these episodes and use this as a sense of, use this for motivation, inspiration, and guidance for athletes, coaches, and parents. So I appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Yeah. So the first question I want to ask you is, what mental skills have been crucial in your progression from high school to collegiate and to the Olympics?
Yeah, I mean, like just thinking about sport in general, as a high schooler, don't really take into consideration the mental aspect of things. At least I didn't, not until probably when I turned pro. My main focus during high school was just to develop great habits and to work extremely hard. I wanted to be the best on the track, so everything I did was mainly focused on just pure performance. And not until I got to like my professional careers, or like when my mindset on sports kind of changed, where I was like, okay, there's a lot more mental fortitude involved in sports than what you would have originally thought. And I would say that mindset has changed and forever changed me, because you go into sports thinking like, okay, I just work really hard and everything will be okay. But long story short, even though you work extremely hard at what you do, it's like how you approach your work ethic, the consistency, the discipline, changes the entire process of everything. So I think it's really important to like shift your mindset to really be confident in your ability first and foremost, but also have the right attitude when it comes to workouts and approach, because your mindset really does dictate how well you will perform on and off the track. And I mean, in track and field, like you have to be consistent all the time. So you want to go into practice with the right mindset, and then you want to go to the meet with the right mindset.
Yeah. What would you say was that switch for you from high school to collegiate and professional for the mental aspect?
Ooh, the moment I realized that it was more than just working hard, I would say it was probably after my first year pro. I mean, you go into, or at least for my personal experience, you go into your first year pro. You don't really have as successful of a year, but you continue to do the same things that or similar things that you've been doing like throughout your entire career. And to put it in plain terms, it's just work harder than anybody else. I'll work the next person next to you. But when it comes into the professional field or even the collegiate field, there's a huge shift in everybody's approach. I mean, when you get to that level, it's hard to make big changes, or not big changes, but it's hard to make huge progress when you get to that level because the room for improvement is so narrow. So now you have to look at other opportunities to improve yourself. And one of those things is thinking about how you can mentally approach certain circumstances. And that could be competition, that could be life, or that can just be workouts in general. And for me, I had to make that shift mentally to kind of elevate myself to continue training the way I wanted to and to continue keeping myself in a good place to always be, self-motivated. So I think for me, it's just understanding that the margin for improvement got so much more narrow and I was always looking for a way to get better.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting because when you're in high school, you notice you're dropping times faster, you're having more fun.
Yeah.
The competition is not as rigorous as would be in college, right? And so then once you step into that collegiate level, everybody is essentially on the same playing field,
Yeah.
and you have to work harder to have those jump. You're not necessarily going to see the big jumps like you did in high school because you're, like you said, the margin of gains is so narrow. And so it's like,
Yeah.
how do you adjust that mental to be like, hey, okay, what worked in high school is not going to work in college, but let's continue, celebrating the small progress that we see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like overall, like sport is constantly changing. People are constantly developing and getting better. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, like you have to continuously figure out ways to improve yourself. And one major component in improving yourself is changing your approach to practice and competition. It'll give you that slight edge, maybe that slight improvement that you need or that you've been looking for that will get you over the hump. And once you have that breakthrough, there are no limits. I think as a high schooler, reflecting back on my high school days, like there is no real pressure for you to perform. I mean, you're out there having fun and you're trying to basically see how fast can I run and where can I go from here. And for me, I just had that same mindset: how fast can I run and where can I go from here? I mean, as a sophomore in high school, I was like, oh, I didn't really have college in mind. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to college, but I didn't know I was going to go to college for track and field. And then as my junior year progressed, my senior year progressed, I was like, okay, college is a viable option. And then when I got to my senior year, it's like maybe the Olympics is a viable option, and just kind of continuously progressed. But when you make that transition from high school to college, I mean, there's a lot more, or you're held a lot more accountable, especially if you're on scholarship, because your coaches expect something for you and they expect you to perform. So it is still a lot of fun, but now there's a different or a deeper level of expectations for athletes to perform, and that can play a huge component in your performance, because if you're not ready to take on those challenges and you're not mentally prepared, it can be challenging to make that adjustment. And you see a lot of high school athletes who make the transition to college but don't really pan out because they failed to make these adjustments.
Yeah. That ties right into the next question about handling these heavy expectations, right? Making that shift from high school to college and then
Yeah.
pro. How do you handle these big, high intense pressure moments when, like, whether it's competition, whether it's practice, like what strategies do you use to kind of keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, I would say I'm thinking about my high school to college transition. What kept me grounded and helped me perform at my highest level without letting the expectations bring me down. I think for myself, I'm a very self-motivated individual, and it came to sports. Like the only thing I would think of is I want to win. I want to become a national champion, and that was that. I didn't care what anybody else thought or wanted me to do. All I know is I wanted to be the best. And for me, that made the transition slightly easier because my goals aligned with my coach's goals.
Mhm.
So I was willing to do anything and everything to make sure I got to that finish line, right? And that panned out to be to work out extremely well for myself. But that's not always the case. I think you may have these large goals of being an NCAA champion or NCAA record holder, but sometimes you have to be realistic with some of the expectations. And if you're in college wanting to compete, what's going to help you get through? What's going to hold you accountable and get through all the expectations that are required of you? I think the best thing to think about it is to keep sport fun. At least you go back to your roots. Okay, why did you start running track and field? Is probably the first thing you should ask yourself. It's like, well, I ran track and field because I love being around the people, my friends. I like training. I like running. So I enjoyed it. So I think if you keep your motivators very simple or keep it very simple, then I think those pros will outweigh like any expectations that are weighed down on yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're having fun and you're enjoying what you're doing. But the moment that you stop enjoying what you're doing,
Mhm.
then the pressure and expectations start to kind of come forth a little bit more and exaggerate all of the adversity or the negative components of track and field that might come. So that's kind of my experience with the college side. Transitioning from college to professional, it's a little bit different because the expectation. Well, this is now gone from, I guess, like a hobby or a
Yeah.
passion to more of a job. So now the expectations are, clear cut. Do this or this happens. Basically, it's like you need to perform, or pretty much in our world is you get reduced or punished.
Hmm.
So I think for myself, I'm still struggling to kind of figure out ways to cope with that, because I haven't
Hmm.
had the best professional career in track and field so
Hmm.
far. So it's been quite difficult. But I think the best thing that's helped me manage these expectations is having great people around me
Yeah.
who are goal driven like myself, but also help keep you in reality, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, these people have my best interest in mind all the time, and they will be there for me whenever, things kind of get out of a line. And for me, that helps me manage the expectations and just focus on what I need to do, which is train and run fast. Because if you're always dwelling on, okay, well, I need to do this before, US championships,
Hmm.
otherwise I'm not going to make it. Like,
Hmm.
those negative thoughts, those constant negative thoughts, play huge in how you perform at practice on the day-to-day basis. So if you just focus on having good people around you, just focus on what tasks you have in front of you, I think you would overcome any expectations.
Absolutely. I want to affirm you real quick because I know you said you don't feel like you've had the most successful seasons for track, but I want to. You are 100% a role model, man. And I remember just seeing you at Arcadia and all those kids that want to take pictures with you and want to have autographs from you. And I want you to realize, even though it hasn't met your own expectations, I want you to know how truly impactful you are as an athlete to this next generation, right? Like I remember
Yeah.
my athletes telling me, like, "Oh, that's Michael Norman," and I felt cool being able to say, "Hey, I know him." You know what I'm saying? So I do want to just affirm you in that way, so you do know, you know, you're changing the game for sure, man.
No, I appreciate it. Like moments like that, like being at Arcadia, having kids approach you and telling you that they look up to you. Um, I mean, honestly, that in itself gets you through some of the hardest moments, because you know that the things that you're doing on the track, even though if they don't meet your expectations, or if you fall short of what your personal goals are, you know that you are leaving an impact on the next generation of athletes, which is the most important thing. Because you know as a professional athletes, we're just paving the way for the next generation.
Hmm.
We have our short period of time being in the spotlight, running as a professional, but we're always looking towards the future and want to see the next great athletes come and elevate the sport. So it's great to kind of see where I've come personally from, like the high school, looking up to other athletes, and then kind of got into that like role model position. Now
Hmm.
have athletes kind of starting to make that transition into that collegiate and professional scene. So it is pretty surreal.
Yeah, yeah. When I went there and I saw your face, because your picture is still up on the Arcadia wall, which was really cool. I want to tap back into something that you said about like just dealing with like the having good people around you to help you overcome the negatives that are inevitable in sport. Can you share a time where you were in a slump mentally and then how you overcame that?
Yeah, I mean, every season is not perfect. You're going to deal with injuries. You're going to deal with setbacks. It could be life related. It could be sport related. There's going to be some type of adversity that every individual is going to have to overcome at some point of their life. And for myself, there are a lot of moments that come up to me when I think about like moments where I find myself kind of spiraling out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to have people, training partners and other coaches who can see the bigger picture when sometimes you're just so tunnel vision and can't get your head out of that small, tiny space, and you're so fixated on just one problem. And this happens every single year, at least once or twice. And it's good to have these people around you. Like for myself, I mean, when I go through a season, for example, like last year, things aren't going very well, and you're struggling just all year long. Practice isn't going the way you want. It's kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it is you have a glass, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the glass represents your emotions, and a season is 9 months long, and every day this jar of emotions and frustration, anger, disappointment, all these negative feelings, like you have a bad workout, a drop of water goes in.
Mm-hmm.
You have a really bad day, a teaspoon of water goes in, and eventually your glass gets full. And when your glass gets full and you have one of these bad moments, you kind of tend to spiral out of control and fixate on one bad issue and kind of lose a little bit of yourself. But for myself, I had great people like Reynard, Ry Benjamin, Kendall, and my physio who have really helped me stay guided and grounded in those toughest moments where I felt like what I wanted to achieve wasn't achievable because of the way things were progressing. So for myself, I mean, having these great individuals is like having a second perspective or another pair of eyes on you that are always looking at your best interest. And I think that's what has helped me mentally overcome some of the issues that I've had to deal with as a professional. And it's just great to be around those people. Like these are the type of people that you want to have around you in your life. They're goal driven as well, but they want the best. They always have the best interest in mind for yourself. So having good friends like that will help you get through any adversity. It will also help guide you and push you through to new limits. So it's been amazing having them. Even moments like not getting a medal at the Olympics or just dealing with injury in general. It's like these people are here for you, and they're there for you when they kind of feel the same disappointment that you feel, even though they're not the ones that have to deal with it. It's just that type of connection you have with these people.
Mm-hmm. That was beautiful. I love the metaphor that you shared, and it was easy to understand and easy to relate. And
Yeah.
especially seeing how important community is. I'm a big community person as well, too. So I understand how sometimes you need people to kind of talk you back to where you've spiraled, right? And to be able to hold you accountable and say those things that you need to hear, you may not want to hear, but it's like it kind of brings you back to reality and grounds you again.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy. Again, when that glass is full, it is very easy to spiral out of control and let those negative emotions and frustration take you to a place that you don't want to go to. That's pretty much when you bottle up those emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and that one instant triggers it all. Like
Mm-hmm.
things can go bad very fast. But when you have people who can recognize when you're kind of going out of control, or they bring you back to center to tell you the things that you don't want to hear, but they also tell you things that you need to hear so you can refocus and finish the year the way that you want to. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. What advice would you give to your high school self about the mental side of sports, knowing everything that you know now?
knowing everything I know now, what would I tell my high school self? Oof, that is tough. My high school self was pretty chill, to be honest. I mean, like every year I would just kind of make a small improvement here and there. Um, but I think I would tell my high school self to just relax a little bit. Don't let the expectations of other people dictate if a performance is good or not.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, the most important thing is to compete and to go for the win. And even though people always expect you to do something special every time you step on the track, the reality of the sport is it's not always going to happen. And as long as you are winning, you have nothing to complain about. So I think I would just kind of reinstill that mindset into a younger Michael as he kind of made his rounds through, the collegiate seasons and then his professional seasons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So I do this thing called rapid fire questions at the end. And so I'm gonna start my timer.
Oh man.
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Nobody has survived this from the first question. So
Survived?
everybody, I've had to stop the clock and we've had to completely scratch this and start over. So if you can't answer the first question, it's honestly okay. So you have 30 seconds. I start the clock the moment after I finish the first question. All right. You ready?
Okay.
What's your go-to pregame hype song?
It changes every year. Probably Chief Keef, Hey Beans Over, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. What's your favorite cheat meal?
Cheeseburger fries.
What's your favorite off-day hobby?
Off day hobby, going for car drives.
If you could relive one moment from your career, what would it be?
2018 NCAA's outdoor season, 4x4, 400 that day.
What's the best advice you've been given?
To stay patient.
Yo, you're the only one that have survived this so far, man.
That first one, I was like, I gotta think because every single year, man, I have a different song that I like to listen to, like that finishes it. So it's just kind of like I'm not a mood listener, but like I cycle through songs like on a monthly basis. So like a song that sounds good in the month of July doesn't sound too good in the month of August. You feel me? So it's just like I gotta find that new song that sounds real good.
Yeah. Hey, well, congrats for being the only one to pass that, man. Everybody stumbles on that. Real quick, I wanted to touch on this because you said the best advice was to stay patient, and that used to be your Instagram bio, and you changed that. I'm curious, how come?
So the reason why that first came to mind has just been instilled with me like my entire career. I took that out of my bio because I need to find something else that I resonate with more right now. And right now I'm trying to figure that out. So I've been kind of like MIA on social media, just kind of like getting ready for my wedding and just living in the moment instead of like in the past.
Yeah.
So I think for myself, like the patience motto, I don't think it really fits my goals anymore. So I'm trying to find something that resonates with me a lot more, that will carry me through the rest of my career. I think I've outgrown it a little bit, and patience is great, but at some point, when things aren't going the way you want, you can't just wait for things to change. Like you have to actively make those changes. So just having that patience reminders, I feel like it's just it's holding me back from growing and becoming a better athlete. So I'm looking for something more on the growth side, to make changes, be proactive. I think a lot of changes is due for myself. So that's why it's removed from my bio. But I've also been kind of MIA on social media, so I'll change everything eventually. It's just right now, wedding stuff comes first.
That makes sense, man. That makes sense. One of the things that came to mind was mindfulness. I'm not sure if you've heard of mindfulness or familiar with mindfulness.
Sorry?
Are you familiar? Like, have you heard of mindfulness or familiar with it?
No, you can explain it to me a little bit.
Okay, yeah, and I'll send you some stuff, but it's like a breathing technique or different techniques that help you come back to the present moment when your mind starts spiraling. And it's something that I do on a day-to-day basis, and I share it with my athletes. So I'll definitely shoot that over to you. But that was just something that I was thinking about, and that I've talked to previous athletes about that, where they've shared that it's really worked for them as well too. So wanted to just send that your way.
Gotcha. Appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, yo, thanks again, Mike. I appreciate you. Have a great time in Vegas, man. And I'm excited to see the pictures and the photos from your wedding, and have fun on your honeymoon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. It was fun.
Yeah, of course. All right, man. Take care.
Perfect. Thank you.